flying through the night, NASCAR dreams within our sight. Asphalt heroes in the fight, peacemakers gaining light so bright. Rev it up, feel the pace, speed hounds in the race. Feel the thrill, feel the chase, victory is our holy place. Throttle down, no time to waste, in this high-octane haste. Every corner, every taste, leads us closer to first place. Under lights, the engines scream, this is more than just a dream. Through the asphalt like a beam, racers' hearts with fervor gleam. In this game we find our might, push the pedal like the night. With each lap our spirits flight, racing on with all our might. Trucks flying through the night, NASCAR dreams within our sight. Asphalt heroes in the fight, peacemakers gaining life so bright. Rev it up, feel the pace, speed hounds in the race. Feel the thrill, feel the chase, victory is our holy place. Thrill the place, thrill the place. Throttle down, no time to waste, in this high-octane haste. Feel the thrill, feel the chase, victory is our holy place. Throttle down, no time to waste, in this high-octane haste. Every corner, every taste, leads us closer to first place. Throttle down, no time to waste, in this high-octane haste. In this high-octane haste, every corner, every taste, leads us closer to first place. Under lights, the engines scream, this is more than just a dream. Through the asphalt like a beam, racers' hearts with fervor gleam. In this game we find our might, push the pedal like the night. With each lap our spirits flight, racing on with all our might. All our might. Thrill the place, thrill the place, thrill the place.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rumble here for round number 2 of the HCK Beagles Truck Series Playoffs here this season, as each and every driver looking to put themselves up and into victory lane. It is the land of cows and cheese, the Milwaukee Mile 150 here this evening, sponsored by Mule Burger Custom Homes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in for what will be an amazing night of racing action. Each and every one of these drivers are absolutely pumped to be back out there on the racetrack. They're looking for some big runs, some great runs, and trying to put themselves into a winning position. As qualifying underway right now, each and every driver out there on the racetrack trying to lay down some quick times here, trying to set themselves up for a good day here at the Speedway. As we'll get them all ready to roll, all ready to rumble here in just a few more moments. Huge shout out to all the fans in the stands tuning in. If you guys are just watching, either re-watching the broadcast, even if we're not live anymore, and you're coming back as one of the drivers, or just fans of the stands and couldn't catch the live stream, make sure you guys still do us a favor. Drop a like on the stream right now for us. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that share button if you're feeling courteous. Share it off to your Discord, off to Facebook, or you know, just your friends and family, and get them in here to experience what everything the HCK Beagle has to offer. As each and every one of these drivers get ready to battle, we do have Kevin Winker, K-Dub, in the chat over there on Facebook. Says, let's go. Says, feels good to be back and at my home track. Let's go, baby, at the home track there for Mr. K-Dub here this evening, as Kev comes in with that heart reaction. Tech Warrior Technologies also coming in, showing the love here with the shares on the broadcast. We appreciate that. Tech Warrior Technologies, one of our amazing sponsors here with the HCK Beagles. As we get ready to rumble, qualifying has come to a close, and we'll get ready to set these drivers loose, and we'll get ready to go to battle here. This is going to be a fun race, a bit of a long race, 150 laps, 150 circuits here for drivers to try to figure out their way to put themselves in the victory lane. We've seen these guys go caution-free before. This may be another one. This will be a slick track, though, but a lot of drivers will have to try to play some different strategy. We should see at least a couple green flag pit stops out there on the racetrack, but some timely or untimely caution flags for drivers could really make the difference here on who ends up into that Milwaukee Mile victory lane here this evening. Shauna coming in, showing the love, says hashtag Winker Nation, hashtag Winker Nation in the chat right now. For all the K-Dub fans in the stands, as Amanda Joy says, hashtag Winker Nation, and Tower Operator coming in, showing the love as well with the hashtag Winker Nation here this evening as well. Woo, baby! All the K-Dub fans in the stands here this evening getting ready to watch their driver duke it out and go to battle here this evening. Again, we do apologize. Normally we do have the webcam on. Our webcam decided it wanted to stop working on us there last week, so we've yet to get a new one as of now. So any donations or anything else will go directly right towards getting a new webcam, so that way you guys can experience my reactions and seeing me up here in the booth and see my beautiful face here on the screen as well. But for right now, we will work with what we got, and right now we got some great racing action in front of us as these drivers get ready to rumble, get ready to duke it out here this evening, as each and every one of them looking to put themselves up and into victory lane. And starting on the pole in the number 5 ride, that is Nicholas Snyder, who is outside in the DSR Electric. Number 971, it's Nate Maurer. Starting in position number 3 in the 16 machine, that is the Celsius Bucky's ride, that is Alex Pelican, to his outside in the 77, that is Brandon Deming. Then we see the 34, Zach Michael, rounding out our top 5 with Nate Gardner, Jacob Grube, Ed Koschersberger, Bobby Blair, and Neil Lapidus rounding out our top 10. Brian Chu, Nathaniel Ostrowiski, Tim Blankenbeckler, John McCullage, Ryan Peterson, Kyle Van Tassel, Brad Lane, Jason LePan, Chris Gilbert, and Kevin Winker rounding out our 20 car field, as we will end all the anticipation with our feature presentation as we are quickly green flag racing here from the Milwaukee Mile. As drivers head down through the concrete in corner 1 and 2, they'll storm down the back straightaway here at the Milwaukee Mile here this evening. They'll send it into corner number 3, nice and easy, still too wide back there for that second spot. Looks like Pelican will be able to get the advantage there, clears the DSR Electric. 971 and 8 Maurer. Snyder, though, leads lap number 1 here this evening. Snyder looking to try to win this race, and he's looking to be that reflection of perfection after winning that pole position. He's out in front. He's leading laps. He's trying to keep all these drivers back there at bay and trying to put himself up and into victory lane. But there is a lot of time here for other drivers to try to find their groove, find their lane, and navigate their way towards the front of the field. As Snyder, nice and easy, down and out of corner number 4. Once again, back down across the line. He will cross the start finish line, leading lap number 2 here this evening, as Alex Pelican trying to hunt him down. Last time around, Pelican laid down the quickest lap of this race. A 30.62, a blazing fast lap time there at Alex Pelican, and he is looking to navigate his way up to the back bumper here of Nicholas Snyder early on in this race. We saw Pelican have a lot of good speed throughout the season, has had a little bit of a rough go the last few weeks. We'll have to see if he can bounce back and try to get a good finish here today. Is Nate Maurer back there in position number 3. If I'm not mistaken, Maurer won last week's race a couple weeks ago after taking a week off, as we do see Brian Chu, another one of those DSR Electric rides. The Florida Cabinet Distributors ride heads down pit side. Tough break there for Brian Chu and Chris Gilbert. Both drivers having to serve a pass-through penalty. Now that's going to put them quite a bit behind, but if they catch a caution flag, it may be a good break for them, as they'll be about half a lap or so back. And, as long as they can kind of keep pace with our race leaders, not really fall too far back into the clutches of these guys to stay on the lead lap before potentially potential green flag pit stops or potentially just trying to catch a lucky caution flag there to get them to the back of the lead pack. As Snyder continues to lead this race, it's Alex Pelican right there in position number 2. Pelican not wanting to leave his back bumper as the DSR Electric number 971 of Nate Maurer stays in position number 3. Zach Michael there in 4th, and it's Nick Gardner in that Napa Auto Parts number 27 truck rounding out our top 5 out there on the speedway as Brandon Deming, Jacob Grube, our top 7, and a little bit of a gap here between our 7th place driver and Bobby Blair back here in position number 8 as that Ridge Power Sports KR Gutters number 75 ride looking to navigate his way up and towards the front of the field. Nathaniel Ostrowski right there behind him, the KTM number 14 ride rolls there in the 9th position, and it's Ed Koshersberger in that Tech Warrior Technologies Pop Smoke 22 number 19 ride rounding out our top 10. Neil Lapidus there in 11th as the Frets for Pets, the Juke Joint number 26, rolls there in the 11th position. So far, a very good run here for Neil Lapidus as he rolls there in that 11th spot. He's got Brad Lane in the race line machine right there behind him, trying to get a good run down low as the 26 watches up the racetrack. That'll leave the inside lane, the preferred lane around the speedway there to get down low and almost complete that pass around Lapidus here for the 11th position. The Tech Warrior ride right there, the 20 machine of Jason LePan. He's looking to do the exact same thing down through 1 and 2 and try to steal position number 12 now away from Lapidus. Lapidus just trying to hang on as K-Dub Kevin Winker in that Muleburger Custom Homes number 42 ride. Early on here, up about 5 positions. So K-Dub, after starting at the back of the pack, he's been navigating his way slowly but surely up and through the field here, and is already around 6-7 drivers and looking pretty solid out there on the speedway. As Tim Blankenbackler, another Frets for Pets Juke Joint ride, rolls there in position number 16 now as the 469, the Ridge Power Sports KR Gutters ride of Ryan Peterson, able to get around him as Blankenbackler will slide back into position number 16. He's got the Tech Warrior 21 ride. Then is John McCullich back there in that 17th position with Kyle Van Tassel, another Ridge Power Sports ride, rolling there in 18th. Brian Chu all the way back here in 19th with Chris Gilbert right behind him. And these drivers, unfortunately, as of right now, sit about 20 seconds behind our race leaders, and that is virtually about 11 seconds away from going a lap down out there on the racetrack. So they'll have to be looking in that rearview mirror, hoping that they can stay in front of these race leaders and try to keep them back there at bay. Is down across the line. 10 laps completed here today. So 10 laps down, still 140 laps left to go in the battle at the front of the field. Is just as fierce as it was at the beginning of this race as the 16 ride of Alex Pelican sticking right there to the back bumper of that 5 ride of Nicholas Snyder, keeping him honest up there at the front of the pack. One mistake, one slip up can send you backwards in a quick hurry, and for all these drivers, that's the last thing you want to worry about. You don't want to have a mistake early on, or if you do, that's the time to have it. You don't want to make mistakes late in the race. If you're going to run into an issue, if you're going to have a problem, you want it to happen now. If you start to realize that your truck is out of balance, if you need some changes or anything else, then this is the time to figure it out. You don't want to have a solid race up until, lap 100 when we start hitting those triple-digit laps out there on the racetrack, and then you figure out that your truck is starting to fall apart out there on the racetrack, and you don't have enough time. You may not have enough pit stops to be able to come down pit road, get the adjustments that you need to try to put yourself up and into a winning situation. As Brett Winker, what's good, Brett? Brett coming in, showing the love, says, let's go Winker. Hashtag Winker Nation, he says over there on YouTube, showing the love here in this one. And something new with YouTube as well that I'm actually kind of happy with is the top fans. It's actually a really cool thing, the top fans thing. So the more you guys comment, the more you guys are in the chat and active here throughout the evening, you'll earn virtually, an area where you can see, where you are as a top fan out there. So that's an absolutely really cool aspect of it, man. We like to see that. We like to see, virtually the XP that you guys can earn and earn your rankings here as chatters in the live streams and see where you stand here with your likes, your comments, your shares, everything else. I think it all kind of goes into it, and the more comments you put in, the more you'll jump up that leaderboard and could potentially be the top fan of the day. And we may have to start doing more and more things here, maybe give some t-shirts or anything else out and some other cool things for our top chatters and everything else each and every single race. As man, this is a lot of fun as Nicholas Snyder out in front, continue to lead the way here. Snyder at the front of the pack here, he's at the helm here this evening, but Alex Pelican sticking right there with him, virtually within a truck length to his back bumper as the DSR Electric number 971 and Nate Maurer trying to roll up to these guys, trying to catch up to them, as you do see Nick Garner is able to work his way around Zach Michael and up into position number 4. Jacob Grube not only around Zach Michael as well as the 77 of Brandon Deming, and Jacob Grube now up inside the top 5. Michael and Deming both fall back a couple spots here as the 34 now back into the 6th position. Brandon Deming back there in 7th. They still got a bit of a gap all the way back here to Bobby Blair and Nathaniel Osterwisky. Then we see another pretty sizable gap between our 9th place driver and our 10th place cat out there on the racetrack as the always amazing 19 ride Ed Kochersberger and that Tech Warrior machine rolls there in that 10th position. Brad Lane, Jason LePan right there with them. Then we see Ryan Peterson back here in that 13th position. K-Dub Kevin Winker rolls there in 14th after getting around that 26 of Neil Lapidus. He's been trying to work his way up and around this 469 of Ryan Peterson, but Peterson showing some pretty good speed here later in this run. As Tower Operator says, the mayor of Winkerville is in 13th. Well, he's fallen back now into 14th, but nonetheless, Winker Nation is on their feet. They're cheered on that 42 ride. We'll have to wait and see if he's got a little magic up his sleeves here this evening and try to get that Muleburger Custom Homes number 42 up and into victory lane here today. He's been having some pretty good runs as of late. We've seen him up here in the broadcast booth a few times, and for the 42 machine, definitely feeling pretty spicy here with some pretty solid finishes, some pretty solid runs out there on the racetrack, and we'll have to see if that can continue and if he can continue to get these good runs in and try to advance himself through our playoffs and potentially have an opportunity to pick up this year's championship, as that's what all these drivers are really going to be working on and hoping to find and get that speed, get everything that they need to be able to put themselves into a position to try to win the championship here this year. If I can find our standings, I will give you guys an update on the standings here. I don't have permission for that channel. Okay, so that doesn't help me at all. That does not help me. All right, so I don't know what the standings are. I don't have permission to see the history of that channel for some unknown reason, but nonetheless, we will keep on battling here. We'll see kind of throughout the day and talking to some of these drivers maybe throughout caution flags on who is a part of our playoffs here this season, as we just went from 20 drivers that first round. Our first 3 races of these playoffs unfortunately eliminated 10 of our playoff competitors. We're down to 10 drivers left here for this championship, so for 10 drivers, they know that they got to try to pick up the pace. They got to try to work their way inside that top 5, as after this race and the next 2 races, we will eliminate half the field again, and we will be down to 5 drivers left to duke it out for that championship over a 3-race stint. So something very cool, something different that the HCK Beagles Truck Series is doing here this year for the playoffs is doing that 3-race final round. Normally it's a one and done. Whoever wins the race virtually wins the championship, but this year we're doing a little bit different, and we're making it more down to the pace and to the drivers that can kind of be a little bit more consistent, maybe not have the pure speed to win one singular race on the year, but potentially being just consistent week after week after week could be their opportunity to win this championship here this year. As you do see the 42, K-Dub unfortunately starting to struggle here, and for the Winkerville machine, he is sliding backwards here on the racetrack, unfortunately now falling all the way back into position number 15 here on the speedway, and potentially back to 16th as Tim Blankenbeckler working to his outside. So Blanken Blackler looking to try to move around that number 42, and the Muhlenberger Custom Homes ride will fall back into position. Number 16 here on the speedway. Tough break there for K-Dub. Was moving up and through the field here. Maybe burned up his equipment a little bit too early. Maybe a little too hard on those tires at the start of this race. As now you do see this battle continuing to rage on at the front of the field. As the 5 right of Nicholas Snyder trying to hang on to the race lead. That 16 of Alex Pelican. He wants to take it away. He gets the inside advantage down through corner 3 and 4 as they are door to door, down and out at corner number 4, back down across the line. It's a drag race down to the start finish, and it is a new race leader here this evening from the Milwaukee Mile, as the number 16 of Alex Pelican will jump out in front. Pelican now with the race lead here today. What a run and what a drive there for that 16 machine. Just kind of waited patiently, lurking in the weeds and trying to find his groove to jump up there and take over that top spot here this evening. It took him a little bit. He was kind of a little patient with it, and that's kind of what you gotta do here at a racetrack like Milwaukee. You gotta be very, very patient. Passing can be very, very hard, and you gotta be very cautious on trying to keep all the fenders on your race truck. You don't want to be making mistakes or getting into somebody or getting those rivalries kind of heated up out there on the racetrack. You want to make sure that you can kind of keep yourself out of trouble here. And for the 5 ride for Nicholas Snyder, he's got a fast truck. He's got a good ride. He's got the speed to potentially win this race. Now he's just got to kind of play it smart. He knows that right now that 16 Alex Pelican is a little bit quicker. So what's the point of battling with him here? We're only 26 laps into this race. We still got 124 laps of battling left to go here. You don't have to beat him right now. You can beat him later in this run. So you want to just be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more, at ease, where maybe Pelican start to use up a little bit more of that tire. Maybe Nicholas Snyder started to feel that pain of running at the front of the field early on and now start to slide back, as you do see Neil on Nate Maurer right there. Maurer in that DSR electric ride. He's looking to jump up into this fight. He wants to jump up here and see if he can make his way around that 5 ride as the Snyder buys a racing machine. Starting to struggle here a little bit, but still showing a lot of good pace out of that car. But they are starting to fall back away from Alex Pelican, as Pelican out in front here now by about 1 second already between him and Nicholas Snyder. So whether Pelican was easy on that car in the opening 24 laps of this race and then started to just pull away here in this later half, or potentially the 5 ride just a little too hard on his tires, or maybe now starting to really wanting to save those tires. Maybe starting to roll back out of it, trying to work this track a little bit more in, try to save his equipment for even later in this run, as we have seen these drivers. We've seen the HCK Beagles go clean and green and see no caution flags throughout a 150-lap race. We could see some of the exact same here this evening from the Milwaukee Mile, just a pure showing of how good these drivers are to potentially have that option of going clean and green and not even having an incident out there on the speedway where we'll have a yellow flag. Now that could happen. Things could change in a quick hurry, and we could see an abundance of caution flags with late race restarts or anything else out there on the racetrack. So you always got to be on your tippy toes. Before these drivers, they know that if it does go clean and green, you do not want to lose too much time. It'll be very, very hard to gain track time. It'll be very hard to maneuver your way up towards the front of the field, but tires could become that big issue. If drivers start to work a little bit more on tire savings or trying to plan out some, caution flags out there where maybe they want to go a little bit longer in a run, maybe a little shorter in a run. An early pick, will help you out in the first half of a run, but the second half you tend to fall backwards. But if you kind of wait a little bit longer, you can have that better truck later in a run compared to everybody else. So it's kind of a give or take, and if you can hit that strategy perfectly, it could leapfrog you, could put you in front of some of these other drivers that you're battling with. So we'll have to wait and see kind of when that pit window opens and we start to see drivers navigate their way down pit side for green flag pit stops, as we're already 31 laps into this race. I got a sneaky suspicion probably within the next 9 to 10 laps, we're probably going to start to see these drivers head down pit road. Maybe they can make it towards lap 50, break this into a two-stop race. Maybe some drivers try to stretch it a little longer than that, maybe come down a little bit earlier. We'll have to wait and see kind of how they have this kind of planned out, how they kind of figure this race is going to roll, as right now the tire wear obviously playing a fairly good factor in this race. A lot of these drivers are running virtually a second or better slower than their best lap time, so having that second or a second and a half of tire fall off is quite detrimental here, and you can make up a lot of time and a lot of ground gaining a second and a half per lap out there on the racetrack with a fresh set of tires. So we'll have to wait and see which drivers will make that gamble coming down pit road first, as you can easily go a lap down coming down pit side here. So if you make that pit stop, you get those 4 tires, you get that tank of fuel, and you go a lap down, you got that risk of potentially seeing a caution flag fly and getting trapped a lap down out there on the speedway. It's Albert Anderson. What's good, Albert? Albert coming in, showing the love, says hashtag Winker Nation here this evening. Hashtag Winker Nation in the chat right now. If you guys are cheering on K-Dub here this evening, unfortunately for K-Dub, after marching up towards the front fairly early in this race, he is now falling back into that 16th position on the speedway. Definitely not the spot he wanted to be in. You do see John McCulloch, and now you start to see some of these other drivers like Brian Chu and that 45 of Chris Gilbert. They've caught up to the rear of the field here. So for the 51 and that 45 run, the DSR Electric Florida Cabinet Distributors, number 51, and that Jags number 45 ride, the blue and the yellow race trucks right there on the speedway getting around Kyle Van Tassel. That is for the 18th, 19th, and 20th position. They had to take a pass-through penalty to start this race. They had to come down pit road, unfortunately losing a ton of track position, a lot of track time, but now catching up to the back of the pack here, starting to advance themselves up and through the field, as we do see one driver down pit road. It's the KTM number 14. It is Nathaniel Ostrowiecki here. Nathaniel Ostrowiecki in that ready-to-race KTM number 14 ride, the first driver to head down pit road, get these fresh tires, and trying to navigate his way, trying to use these tires to his advantage out there on the racetrack, as he has gone a lap down, as there's our race leaders down and out of corner 1 and 2 here, and down the back straightaway. Unfortunately for Nathaniel Ostrowiecki, he is just starting to build up that speed. He's going to exit pit road right there, and he will slide up into what would virtually be about the 7th or 8th position on the racetrack here, and now he's going to go to work and hope that all these other drivers don't come down pit road for a while, where he can use those fresh tires to his advantage here and try to navigate his way, potentially leapfrogging a bunch of drivers out there on the racetrack. It's Dimitri Curtis. What's good, Dimitri? Dimitri coming in, showing the love over there on Facebook with that share on the broadcast, in Frets for Pets also coming in with that share here on the stream. We appreciate that, Dimitri, and Frets for Pets showing the love here this evening. Always love seeing Frets for Pets and Dimitri in the chat. How are you, Dimitri? Hopefully you're having yourself a wonderful day. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you guys have been enjoying the racing action so far, make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that follow and subscribe button, as we'll get ready to continue to see these drivers duke it out here, and potentially more green flag pit stops here on the horizon. As here we go, we do see a few drivers heading down pit road. There's Brandon Domingue, the 77 Ghost Energy ride down pit side. Our 8th place driver, Bobby Blair, in the Ridge Power Sports KR Gutters AMSOIL number 75, also down pit side. Here comes a pair of those Frets for Pets rides, as the OSOCOutdoors.com Juke Joint number 26 of Neil Lapidus down pit road, and the Frets for Pets Juke Joint number 10 machine of Tim Blankenbeckler also down pit road. Now they'll be joined by a big slew of drivers, including our race leader Alex Pelican. Pelican down pit side. They're in that 16 ride. Nate Maurer also down pit road. There's Zach Michael, Nick Gardner, Ed Koshersberger, Jacob Grube down pit side. Quick pit stop here for Jacob Grube, rolling out onto the racetrack there. A very good pit stop for what was our 5th place driver. He'll actually leapfrog Nate Maurer and Nick Gardner there on the speedway. We'll have to wait and see where they line up here, as we do see Ryan Peterson now making his way down pit side. side, and I do believe a couple drivers left to still make these green flag pit stops as the 5 ride of Nicholas Snyder. Snyder is one of those drivers yet to come down pit road, so playing a little strategy here in that 5 machine, waiting a little bit longer, and now finally heading down pit side. And we always know, lurking in the background, trying to play that strategy game. Sometimes it works out perfectly for him, sometimes it hurts him a ton. It is K-Dub Kevin Winker down through corner number 3 and out of corner number 4. We'll see if K-Dub comes down pit side this time, or if he stays out there on the racetrack. I got a sneaky suspicion he's going to stay out, as he will take the race lead away from Nicholas Snyder, and we get a new race leader here this evening. The 42 of Kevin Winker during these green flag pit stops will jump up out in front and take over this race lead. And now that big strategy call of coming down pit road a couple laps later than Alex Pelican, Jacob Grube, Nate Maurer. For Nicholas Snyder, it's going to hurt him here, as Alex Pelican out in front now has a sizable gap, about 2 seconds between himself and Jacob Grube. Grube has Maurer right there on his back bumper, and then we see Nicholas Snyder a little farther back here. So Snyder, who is running in that second position, now rolls back in position number 4, but does have a couple lap better tires. As here we go, you do see that Winker Nation ride head down pit side as he'll look to get some work done to that Muhlenberger Custom Homes at number 42 down pit side here. Gives up that race lead. We'll have to wait and see where this kind of slots in for the 42 ride and how that's going to affect him in his race here this evening. As run a little bit longer, unfortunately, may hurt him here the most, as he may actually go a lap down here with that strategy. As you watch him down through corner number 1 and 2 right here. There's our race leader rolling right on around him, and unfortunately for Kevin Winker, that will put him a lap down. Now, he does have a couple lap better tires than our race leader, but unfortunately not the place he wants to be. But he is in that free pass position. If we were to get a lucky dog, he would get the if we were to get a caution flag, he would get that lucky dog and get back onto the lead lap here. But we'll have to wait and see if he can race his way back up and around our race leader and put himself back onto the lead lap here today. As Pelican, though, leading this race, he sees another driver in front of him that he wouldn't mind putting a lap down and keeping some of these drivers back there at bay, as he knows that John McCulloch right there is another driver that he would like to put back there a lap down and maybe potentially keep Kevin Winker into that lucky dog position. And then not too far in front of him, you do see Chris Gilbert and Brian Chu. 2 drivers had to make those pass-through penalties early in this race. They are not too far away now from our race leader. So for Alex Pelican, potentially putting those 2 a lap down would be a great break here throughout the race. For a lot of these other playoff drivers, it would be a very awful break for Gilbert and Brian Chu. So they're going to be trying to work as hard as possible to keep this 16 machine back there at bay here this evening. As out in front, Pelican continues to show these drivers the way around as Jacob Grube hangs on to second. We do see the 5 ride of Nicholas Snyder. Snyder has navigated his way around that 971 and Nate Maurer. Maurer does slide back into position number 4 on the racetrack. Is right there. You see our fourth and third place drivers here. Maurer in the orange truck, Snyder in that red and black truck. They're both trying to hunt down not only Jacob Grube, the black truck right in front of them, but a few trucks farther forward is our race leader. And with a fairly commanding lead out there on the speedway, Alex Pelican sitting pretty here at the front of the field, has just over 2 seconds between himself and our second place driver. And he's also got a couple cars in between him here as well, as you do see the 42 ride able to get around the number 21. So a good break there for K-Dub, as Kevin Winker able to get around John McCulloch and put himself back into the lucky dog position out there on the speedways. Now we see Brian Chu working his way around the 26 here. Neil Lapidus. Lapidus, unfortunately, now kind of under attack here from the 51 of Chu and that 45 of Chris Gilbert. Looks like both drivers will navigate their way around the OSOCOutdoors.com Frets for Pets, the juke joint number 26 machine, as Lapidus falls back into 17th and potentially going to be the next driver at risk of going a lap down, as our race leader right there behind them in that red Bucky's machine. Not too far away from putting a lot of these drivers a lap down and really having some major playoff implications for a couple of those cats out there on the racetrack. It's some absolutely amazing racing here already this evening. These drivers putting on a heck of a show for us. If you you guys have been enjoying the racing action. Make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit that like button for us right now on the broadcast. Hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Peacemaker family here today and turn those bell notifications on. As Alex Pelican continues to lead this race, as Jacob Groom, still about 2 seconds back behind him, has gotten around John McCulloch, and now only has him and Kevin Winker between himself and our race leader here. Snyder holds on to third. Then we see Nate Maurer back there in position number 4. Nick Gardner rounding out our top 5 as the Napa Auto Parts 27 ride rolls there in that 5th position. Brandon Domingue back there in position number 6 with Zach Michael. Nathaniel Osterwisky there in 8th. Now Osterwisky, he was one of those drivers that came down quite a bit earlier than everybody else. It didn't really seem to help him all too much there as the 14 ride came down pit road on lap 35, and that was virtually about 4 laps earlier than most of our leaders, and unfortunately for that 14 machine, still back in that 8th position, didn't really gain too much track time or track position out there on the speedway, as he's got Bobby Blair once again right to his back bumper. These two have been kind of nose to tail for a lot of this race. Ed Koshersberger rounding out our top 10 with his teammate Jason LePan. LePan in that Tech Warriors Pop Smoke 22. Number 20 ride rolls there in the 11th position with Brad Lane. Lane in that race line and number 1 ride there in position number 12 with Ryan Peterson back in 13th. Tim Blankenbeckler there in 14th, and Brian Chu rounding out our top 15 drivers as Lapidus able to work his way back around Chris Gilbert. Gilbert now a lap down, and so isn't that 26 Emil Lapidus. Is unfortunately for the Friends for Pets, the juke joint ride of Lapidus. He will go a lap down here as that number 16 able to navigate his way right on around him. So a heck of a move right there for Alex Pelican, getting a few more drivers a lap down, and now you do see K-Dub, Kevin Winker. He's right here in this mix. Winker does have the better tires over Chris Gilbert and over Neil Lapidus, so he's able to make quick work of Lapidus. Now he's going to try to get back around this 45 ride, knowing that that could be the position for the Lucky Dog here this evening. If he can stay in front of that 45, catches a timely caution flag, could get a free pass back onto the lead lap here this evening, and that's exactly what he'll be looking for out there on the speedway as K-Dub trying to keep himself alive here this evening from the Milwaukee Mile. Is absolutely amazing racing action. 54 laps now completed here on the evening, so 54 laps down. Still a lot of racing left to go here. Just under 2/3 of this race left here this evening. Just under 100 laps of action left to go. Is down across the line. They will complete lap number 55 here on the day, and that is 95 laps left to go here this evening, man. That is still a lot of time, still a lot of laps, and based on when these drivers came down pit road, right around that 40-lap marker, we're probably going to see them come back down pit side around lap number 80 and then back down pit road for a 3rd pit stop here potentially around lap number 120. So that really makes things a little bit more wide open, a little bit more risky here for some drivers. Could potentially try to make some moves, try to make some maneuvers out there, maybe try to early pit or short pit or make that longer trip like we saw Kevin Winker do early on here in that first wave of green flag pit stops. They can kind of judge and see where, you know, they're gaining or losing time out there on the racetrack and how they need to use it to their advantage to try to get themselves a better finish here this evening. As the 10 ride, you do see Tim Blankenbeckler, unfortunately for Tim, does slide a lap down and now falls outside of that Lucky Dog position as the 45 of Chris Gilbert able to quickly get around him. Now you see Kevin Winker right there. Winker's trying to get around not only the 10 machine, but also try to hunt down Chris Gilbert here for that Lucky Dog spot here, and all these drivers are chasing down this number 16 as Alex Pelican continues to lead this race, continues to show these drivers that he may be the truck to beat here this evening. I mean, Jacob Groom, Nicholas Snyder, they've been right there. Same with Nate Maurer and Nick Gardner. They haven't really lost too much time to our race leader here, and they're not really too far off his back bumper, a couple seconds, and that's one mistake, one wrong corner here. Getting sunk in behind some lap traffic could all of a sudden bring these drivers right back to his rear bumper out there on the racetrack. So you got to be very, very cautious about where you're going, what you're doing, and how you got to maneuver around around the speedway to try to put yourself up and into victory lane. As Pelican out in front, and now you do see that 5 right of Nicholas Snyder able to make that move around Jacob Group here. So Snyder jumps up into position number 2, sliding Group back there into 3rd. Now for Nicholas Snyder, he does have a couple lap better tires compared to Alex Pelican and Jacob Group. So even though it's 2 laps, it may make quite a bit of a difference here on the later end of this run. He may be able to find that extra little bit of speed, that extra little bit of grip and confidence out there on the racetrack to potentially drive up here and race his way up to our race leader's back bumper. Virtually the same thing we saw Alex Pelican do to that 5 ride early on in this race, as we saw Snyder qualify on that pole position, led the first 23 laps of this race until lap 24 when Alex Pelican was able to jump out in front, take that race lead back away from him. Then we saw the 5 ride of Snyder lead some laps there at the start of our green flag pit stops, and then we saw Kevin Winker here, who's right there just behind that 45 and now behind the 51 right of Brian Chu, as Chu and Chris Gilbert both fall a lap down there to Alex Pelican. Obviously Chu putting up a battle here, trying not to let that 16 ride by, wants to keep himself on that lead lap, does not want to fall a lap down. Unfortunately, he will not prevail in that battle, and for the 51 and the 45, they got a fairly fast and a little bit better tire. Number 42 at Kevin Winker right there behind him. We'll have to wait and see if K-Dub can navigate his way around both these drivers and potentially either race his way back onto the lead lap or potentially put himself into that lucky dog spot, as that's what he's been trying to do ever since he exited pit lane after his green flag pit stops, and he's still trying to keep these guys back there behind him. So we'll have to wait and see if he's able to make that right move, if he's able to put himself into that position to try to pick up the good run here today. As in front, it is that 16 ride, the Bucky's number 16 ride, as the Bucky's machine, the Celsius ride there in that top spot here, man. He's been looking good all day long. Obviously, he was all over the back bumper of Snyder there for the first 23 laps of this race, and since he's taken that race lead and even through those green flag pit cycles, he has been super fast out there on the racetrack. And as of right now, he does have the quickest lap time out of anybody out there on the racetrack. There's been a few drivers that have been very close, within the 100ths of a second to his lap time, but no one has been quicker than this 16 machine here today. And right now he's looking very quick, and he's looking to try to take that. Does Bucky's have a mascot? I know there's the rat, or whatever it is, the rat or beaver. What's on the hood of this car? Let me take a look. Okay, it's like a beaver or chipmunk. I knew it was something like that. I think, is that a chipmunk? What is Bucky's? Is that their chipmunk? Does he have a name? Is it like Chip the Chipmunk or something? I don't know what it is. I'm from Canada, chat, so I don't really know. From up here in Canada, we don't have Bucky's, so I only know the lore so much. We don't know much more about the lore of Bucky's gas stations, other than they are absolutely massive. They're kind of like a one-stop shop where you can pretty much get everything you need in there. Absolutely massive, with like hundreds of gas pumps there, which is absolutely crazy to think of. Most gas stations around here, we got like 8 pumps, maybe 10 pumps at them. Like that's a big gas station around here. We don't get much bigger than that, honestly. As Pelican, though, he leads this race. He's got a couple lap down cars between himself and Nicholas Snyder, which is really giving him a good sense of confidence here, with 3 lap down drivers right there, obviously battling for position, as the 45 ride is going to make his move around Brian Chu. So that will move Chris Gilbert once again into that free pass position. You see the 51 up the track a little bit, as here comes Kevin Winker. K-Dub looking to try to get around Chu here as well, trying to move his way up a little bit closer to the front of the field and into where he could potentially get that lucky dog here this evening, as there's a good gap between our race leader and our 13th place driver, the last car on the lead lap. That is that 469, the KR Gunners Ridge Power Sports ride of Ryan Peterson. Peterson, the last car on the lead lap here this evening. Then there was another big gap up to the 1 ride here of Brad Lane. Lane rolls there in position number 12. Jason LePan and Ed Koschersberger there in 10th and 11th. Now they're virtually about a half a lap down to our race leader, but they're still hanging strong here in that 10th and 11th spot. Nathaniel Ostrowiecki, the number 75 ride there. That is Bobby Blair a little farther forward, as you do see McCulloch and that 26 and Neil Lapidus, both lap down drivers there, continue to struggle, continue to fall back, as Bobby Blair was able to make the move around Nathaniel Ostrowiecki fairly quickly. Now Ostrowiecki did come down pit road on lap 35 here, and he is getting very, very close to potentially having to make another green flag pit stop. We'll have to wait and see how long he runs this next cycle through here, as the 14 ride definitely started to fall back, started to feel the effects of coming down pit road earlier than everybody else. Now all these other drivers kind of have the better tires than he does, and he's been struggling out there on the racetrack, as Bobby Blair there in 8th, and a little farther forward we do see Brandon Domingue. Domingue not too far off the back bumper here is Zach Michaels. Michaels trying to work his way around the 10 ride of Tim Blankenbeckler there. Blankenbeckler is a lap down out there on the racetrack, as Zach Michaels scored there in that 6th position, just outside the top 5 there for that quick title ride, as Nick Gardner rounds out our top 5 here in that Napa Auto Parts number 27 ride. Nate Maurer, the DSR Electric Machine, sees his teammate right here in front of him. That is the DSR Electric 51, the Florida Cabinet Distributors ride. His teammate and Brian Chu right there at his front bumper here, and unfortunately that's a tough place to be, knowing that your teammate is struggling out there on the racetrack, is now a lap down, and you kind of got to roll around them here and just continue to race your race. Not much you can do to really help him out. It's not like it's a drafting racetrack where you can pick him up and get him back into the draft or try to help him out there with the draft. So really you just kind of got to go around him there and just hope for the best for your teammate out there on the speedway. As of right now, Nate Maurer running pretty solidly there in that 4th position, with Jacob Grube not too far in front of him, as you do see Snyder has been able to get around Kevin Winker. So Snyder now with only one driver between himself and Alex Pelican here, and that is that 45 ride of Chris Gilbert. As now you do see K-Dub going to fall back at least another truck length there, as the 18 ride of Jacob Grube will get around him, and for K-Dub sliding backwards here and now nowhere close to our lucky dog out there on the racetrack, is that 16 machine still leads the way. The 45 right behind him, that is Chris Gilbert. Gilbert still in the lucky dog position, still trying to hold on to that spot out there on the racetrack as the laps continue to click off. We'll wait and see kind of when some of these drivers elect to come down pit road. For Nathaniel Ostrowiecki, if these drivers can only make it 41, maybe 42 laps on fuel, he's got to be coming down pit road still first here, probably around lap number, I'm going to say probably around lap number 75, 77, somewhere in that area. We will see this 14 ride virtually be forced to come down pit road, get fuel, get tires, and try to roll back out there onto the racetrack, and hope that the strategy can continue to work out for him and maybe get a little bit better of a finish here on the evening. As now we do see Brian Chu. So Chu, a lap down driver, now trying to take advantage of these trying to take advantage of this mid-race pit stop here, trying to hope to see if he can find that extra little bit of speed, that extra little bit of ground to maybe put himself back onto the lead lap, or potentially back into a lucky dog battle out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out there for that 51 ride here this evening, as we do see Nathaniel Ostrowiecki. Here he comes down pit road here on lap 74. So we knew it was roughly going to be around this point, and for all these other drivers, majority of these other cats, we're probably going to see them come down pit road here in the next 5 laps or so. So be on the lookout for your favorite driver to head down pit side, look to get fuel, look to get tires, and this is where you can really make or break your day here at the racetrack. It's down pit road. Making a mistake, speeding down pit side, having an issue on pit road or pit entry, pit exit could cost you potentially a race win or a solid top 5 finish, maybe even just a good top 10, as you have to make a pass-through penalty or you get a 30-second hold down on pit road. All of a sudden you're going a lap down, maybe even 2 laps down out there on the racetrack, and that is very, very hard to battle back from. So drivers will have to be very, very cautious, mind their P's and Q's, and try to keep themselves out of trouble. As we see our first driver with some issues here, Kyle Van Tassel rolling back at the rear of the field here. Let's take a look here at the Ridge Power Sports number 13 ride, as he just gets I don't know if he already had damage here, but this truck just pulls hard to the left here and down into the inside fence. Let's take a look here a little closer at this car, as I'm not sure what happened to him here. It doesn't look like too much damage or anything else on the front end. Not sure if this tire just kind of, maybe lost connection right here. That may be the issue for the 13 ride. We've seen this before. Some drivers end up losing connection, and these cars will just turn hard left on them. If you watch the steering wheel, see if we can jump on board with them. Gonna be rolling down the back straightaway here, nice and easy, nice and easy. Then all of a sudden, it's like it turns off right there. See that little bit of a glitch? Rolls out of the throttle, everything else. Luckily enough, it's able to stay off the racetrack because it's still turning left there, and he's down into the infield grass right there, so we don't get a caution flag, but that is a heartbreaker there for Kyle Van Tassel. As man, that's a very, very tough break. It's very quick to see it. As you take a look here, you'll see this wheel all of a sudden just kind of glitch, turn very, very hard. It's like it does two or a full circle right there, and it just turns that left front tire right to the left here, and all of a sudden it just pulls down, and you can see that tire pointed to the left, and all of a sudden, bam, right into that infield wall. Heavy hit there for him, lots of damage, and obviously having to try to reload back into the axis. Here we go, more pit stops. Drivers headed down pit side, including Nicholas Snyder. We already saw Alex Pelican come down pit road. As Snyder now down pit side here himself, goes down pit road a little bit later than everybody else. As here comes Zach Michael, Brandon Ming, Brad Lane, all getting ready to roll back out onto the racetrack here. Here comes Jacob Groob. Groob gonna fall back here a little bit as he's gonna be back in actually, he's going to be back into that second position once things kind of roll out here. Same with Nate Maurer. We'll have to wait and see where Snyder kind of sizes up with these guys as Alex Pelican looks to be back into the race lead. There he goes around Nicholas Snyder. Here comes Snyder just rolling back up to speed here. It looks like he may be able to hang on to position number 2, but for Pelican, a very good pit stop here for that number 16 machine. He's going to have a very big advantage now between himself and Nicholas Snyder. Snyder even has a solid gap between himself and Jacob Groob, Nate Maurer, and obviously some drivers running this a little bit longer and hoping to see a caution flag fly as Kevin Winker still yet to pit. He's rolling back in that 6th position. Ryan Peterson now just coming down pit side here himself. We're still waiting for a couple of these cats to come down pit road, make their green flag pit stops here. As man, we're just over halfway to go here in this race, and the action is just starting to heat up. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you do not want to go anywhere. You do not want to miss any of this amazing action here this evening as Alex Pelican out in front and potentially maybe in position here. If he can find the speed, if he can find the line, he may be able to put that race line. Number 1 rider, Brad Lane, a lap down out there on the racetrack as well, as Brad Lane currently scored in that 13th position. May fall a lap down here as well. Chris Gilbert still in that lucky dog position, but may not be for long as Ryan Peterson there. Brian Chu back out onto the track. Here comes Tim Blankenbeckler. We do see K-Dub, Kevin Winker. He's navigating his way down pit road here, getting work done to his race truck is the 13. That's a tough break there for Kyle Van Tassel. Going to be a very disappointing, probably 20th place finish there for that 13 ride, and we'll have to wait and see if he can get back out there onto the racetrack, get some laps in here himself as the 16 of Alex Pelican continues to lead this race. Pelican out in front. It's Snyder there in second. Jacob Groob back in third with the DSR Electric number 971, and Nate Maurer right there behind him. And then we see Zach Michael now into the 5th position here as Nick Garner slides back into 6th. Bobby Blair there in 7th, and then we see Brandon Ming back in 8th. Nevaeh Ostrowski there in 9th, and Ed Koshersberger rounding out our top 10 here. Koshersberger and Jason LePan have been virtually right in this 10th and 11th position all night long, and slowly but surely the race leader is starting to catch up to them as well, as Brad Lane at risk of becoming the next driver to go a lap down here this evening. Now, luckily enough, he's got a bit of a gap between himself and Ed Koshersberger and Jason LePan, and then there's a pretty sizable gap now, about 6 seconds, all the way back to Chris Gilbert here, as Gilbert falls quite a ways away from our race leader there with those pit stops. And unfortunately for the 45 ride, he may no longer be in that free pass spot if Brad Lane goes a lap down out there on the racetrack, as Alex Pelican continues to hold down the 4 here. 4 seconds, the gap between himself and Nicholas Snyder. 4-second lead here this evening for Alex Pelican, and with no caution flags as of yet, it has been very much his race to lose here since taking over the race lead on lap number 24. This 16 ride has been absolutely picture perfect out there on the racetrack, and has just been hitting these amazing pit stops, being able to get some good leads, some good advantages, putting these drivers a lap down in front of them, not really hanging out too long behind them and getting slowed down by the lap traffic. So he's been doing a fantastic job out there on the racetrack. And for Snyder, Jacob Groove, Nate Maurer, and the rest of the field, they're all going to be looking to try to hunt him down and look to try to knock him out of this top spot here this evening. For Brad Lane, he's just trying to hold him off and trying to keep himself on the lead lap here this evening as our 12th place driver does not want to go a lap down out there on the racetrack, as he's got Neil Lapidus right there in front of him. Looks like he'll make the move down low underneath that OSOCOutdoors.com. Friends for Pets, the juke joint number 26, as Lapidus will fall another lap down, and unfortunately for the 26 ride, scored back in the 18th position here this evening. Now at least 2 laps down out there on the racetrack, as Pelican able to still hold a 3.7 second lead down and out of corner number 2. For that Buc-ee's Celsius ride, he is the truck to beat here this evening. Still a lot of racing action left to go here this evening. Still a lot of time for drivers to try to navigate their way to the front of the field here, trying to make their moves and put themselves into a position to try to snag this win away from that 16 ride. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that he hangs on to it? Do you guys think that maybe we stay caution free? What's the idea here? Do we stay caution free? Do we get a poll up here? We may have to make a poll here for all of you guys, man, because this is definitely going to be a very, very fun one. Let's see if we can start a poll. Alrighty, we're going to put a poll up there into the YouTube chat right now. What do you guys think? Do we stay clean and green, or do we get a caution flag here this evening? What do you guys think here? The poll is up in the comment section over there. Make sure you guys go check it out and see kind of what you guys are thinking on whether or not a yellow flag will be displayed, or if we will keep it clean and green out there on the racetrack, and potentially just an absolute dominating race here for that 16 ride of Alex Pelican here today. As out in front, the 16 continues to click off these laps. Now 90 laps down in this race, and 60 laps left to go here. 60 laps left in this race for these drivers. So still a lot of time, still a lot of racing action left to be had here for these drivers, for these competitors, to try to put themselves into a winning situation out there on the racetrack. And for right now, Brad Lane has been doing a great job here, keeping himself on the lead lap. He's been actually running virtually the same lap times as our race leader and keeping him back there at bay, which has been pretty impressive here. And he has closed up the gap here. Him and our race leader have been reeling in that 20 ride of Jason LePan and Ed Kostersberger here. So they're absolutely flying back here at the front of the field, to the back of the pack. They're battling hard as Lane trying to stay on the lead lap. The 16 right, knowing that he wants to try to put these guys a lap down, knowing that if he can trap them back there a lap down behind him, even if we get a caution flag, could definitely help him out and make it a little bit easier for him if he gets messed up on a restart, or if he has an issue out there with a pit stop, that at least he won't fall too far behind here late in this race. So could be very much minimizing his fall down, or potentially trying to minimize how much points these other drivers may be able to earn later in this race. So we'll have to wait and see kind of if he can make his way around these guys, man. He's been battling hard. He's got the faster truck, obviously, leading this race so far for a lot of this event here. Virtually the last I don't even know what I want to say here. Last 50, 60 laps, he's been out in front leading this race. Maybe even 70 laps here out in front. He has been absolutely zooming since he took that race lead away from Nicholas Snyder. And talking about Nicholas Snyder, he was back quite a ways behind Alex Pelican here. Pelican did have about a 4-second gap between himself and that 5 ride, but now being held up here a little bit by the lap traffic in front of him. He's starting to fall back in this number 5 right, and Nicholas Snyder's closing that gap. It's down to about a 2.2 second lead here for Alex Pelican. So Pelican potentially running into some issues trying to get around Brad Lane, and maybe some of these Tech Warrior rides maybe slowing him down and maybe allowing some of these other drivers to get themselves right back into the hunt here for the checkered flag this evening. Is Jacob Grew back there in position number 3. Nate Mauer not too far off his back bumper. They're in position number 4. Zach Michael there in that 5th position with Nick Gardner back in position number 6. Brandon Meng there in 7th with Nathaniel Ostrowitzki back in position number 8. Bobby Blair there in 9th, and then we see Ed Koshersberger down into core number 3, our 10th place driver just in front of our race leader as Jason LePan rolls there in 11th, and you do see Brad Lane unfortunately now a lap down out there on the racetrack, but he's in that lucky dog position as of right now. If he could get that timely caution flag, could get himself back onto the lead lap, back into the fight here this evening for a little bit better of a finish. We'll have to wait and see if he can try to maybe race his way even back onto the lead lap, or potentially just try to stay there with our race leader. Kind of do what the 45 ride did there for quite a while, and that was kind of just stick to the back bumper of the 16 ride as he was putting other drivers a lap down. You were able to quickly pounce on that opportunity, the open lanes, and be able to follow him through it and stay in that lucky dog position out there on the racetrack. So we'll have to wait and see if Brad Lane's able to do that and just keep himself kind of in this fight here this evening as much as he can. But without a caution flag for a lot of these drivers, their dreams of trying to navigate or get back into the fight here for the race win is starting to get bleaker and bleaker and bleaker lap after lap after lap as there goes that 16. Alex Pelican now down to the inside here of the 20 ride. Jason LePan in that Tech Warrior number 20 machine trying to keep himself on the lead lap. Unfortunately, it won't last for long as Pelican able to click off another one, and we're down to only our top 10 drivers left on the lead lap here this evening. So only 10 drivers still on the lead lap here today, and another one at risk of potentially going a lap down is that Pop Smoke 22 Tech Warrior Technologies number 19, Ed Koshersberger. Koshersberger right there, potentially the next victim to fall a lap down out there on the speedways. You start to see that battle brewing here for that lucky dog position as Brad Lane trying to get around Jason LePan. This could be the fight for that lucky dog spot out there on the racetrack. If a caution flag were to fly, that could definitely help out the one ride and keeping himself in this fight here this evening. But as of right now, our race leader looking to try to put that 19 Ed Koshersberger back there at bay as well. Will take him out of that lucky dog spot. You still see that 5 ride of Nicholas Snyder closing the gap here. It's now 1.1 seconds between himself and Alex Pelican, and Pelican still has a little lap traffic here in front of him. Is down across the line. They will complete lap 100. So lap 100 now into the books here this evening, and we are officially into our final third of this race. So 2/3 down, 1/3 left to go here for the HCK Beagles Truck Series. 100 laps of green flag non-stop racing action, and it's Alex Pelican who holds on to the race lead, but only has about a second between himself and Nicholas Snyder. Snyder trying to hunt him down to take back the race lead that he had early in this race. We'll have to wait and see if he can catch up to him and make that move and steal this race lead back away from Alex Pelican late in this run. And with green flag pit stops potentially on the horizon in the next 20 laps or so, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out here at the front of the field. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to jump into a very quick Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up. So what we want you to do right now is crank up that volume, cheer on your favorite drivers here with the HCK Beagles Truck Series, as it is the land of cows and cheese. The Milwaukee Mile 150, sponsored by Mule Burger Custom Homes here this evening with the HCK Beagles Truck Series. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in, and we will jump into our Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up. So crank up that volume and cheer on your favorite drivers here this evening. righty, there it is, the pass for the race lead. The 5 rider, Nicholas Snyder, he was able to get there. He caught the back bumper of Alex Pelican, waited, patiently made the move, and made the pass for the race lead out there on the racetrack. So put Nicholas Snyder back to the point here as Pelican starting to struggle here during this run, and unfortunately for the 16 ride, sliding backwards, but we still have one more pit stop on the horizon. And we've seen this 5 ride run these stages a little bit longer, so we'll have to wait and see if he tends to run this stage out a little bit longer than that 16 ride once again, and tries to put himself back in that same position where he will probably fall back maybe another spot here, fall back into second, and have to once again chase down this 16 ride and try to put himself back at the front of the field. Or maybe he comes down earlier, maybe he comes down at the same time. Who knows how this is going to play out as we start to see some drivers make their way down pit road. Jason LePan, one of the first cats down pit side here, same with Brian Chu. Now here comes Nathaniel Ostrowitzki, so drivers are starting to get into that fuel window where they can make it to the end of the race, and this is potentially going to be their final pit stop. And there you go, the 16 rider, Alex Pelican. He knows that that pit window is open. He heads down pit side here, and he will make his final green flag pit stop here today. Now, potentially we could see pit stops later on this evening, especially if we see late race yellow flags here this evening, but as of right now, this could be their final pit stops on the day. And for Alex Pelican, he's looking to use those fresh tires to his advantage as early as he can. And now you do see the 5 ride of Nicholas Snyder next time around. He comes down pit road here himself. So green flag pit stops in full swing here this evening. Drivers making their way down pit road, and they are definitely going to be, this is going to be a tight race off of pit lane between Snyder and that 16 Alex Pelican. Pelican starting to roll once again out there on the racetrack as he is going to look to try to leapfrog that 5 rider Nicholas Snyder. We'll have to wait and see kind of how this plays out and who will put themselves into that position to be our race leader once again once things cycle through. As here we go, the 5 ride just rolling up the speed. Here comes Pelican down through corner number 1 and 2, and you see just that 1 lap difference. It's going to be a tight race down and out of corner number 2, and it looks like Snyder may be able to stay in the lead. Not so tight as their door to door once again for the race lead. Snyder with the preferred line down on the inside though, but Pelican knows that this is the battle for the race win. He's going to be wanting to use up his tires. He's going to want to try to do as best as he can to try to keep himself right here in this battle and try to put himself back in front of Nicholas Snyder. And for Snyder, he's looking to keep that 16 ride back there at bay. He'll get a good run down through corner number 1 and 2. A little bit of a crossover move there out of that 16 as you see some lap traffic potentially going to play a role in this battle as the 5 ride tries to jump up in between a couple trucks, use a little bit of the draft off the back bumper of the 21, able to get a little bit farther forward there, and has a truck length gap here between himself and Alex Pelican. Now with virtually the same amount of tire here, only 1 lap difference for those drivers. Now we'll have to wait and see how the rest of this race plays out. If someone else can potentially race their way up there, as we do see Brad Lane now down pit side. There's the 10 ride of Tim Blankenbeckler also down pit road here. What do we see? As we do see Zach Michael now down pit side. Here comes Brandon Domingue down pit road. Looks like Nick Gardner going to be the driver to kind of play the long game here and try to run this set of tires out a little bit longer than everybody else and then find his way down pit side. Right now he's given up a lot of time to the race leaders, but maybe later in the race he can get that time back, navigate his way back up through the top 5, and maybe end up with a little bit better finish than what he was probably going to end up with here. But I don't think he's going to stay too much longer out there on the racetrack, and now you do see him make that hard left-hand turn down pit road. So there he goes down pit side. We do see Kevin Winker once again on this strategy of trying to stay out here longer as well, hoping to catch a caution flag. If a yellow flag were to fly, he's back on the lead lap, so that could be a big break there for him. But as of right now, no yellow flag in sight. He's going to need to see something very soon before he has to make his way back down pit side. As Snyder and Pelican 1 and 2 out there on the racetrack. That is the battle for the race lead, and these drivers have been duking it out all evening long. It looked like it was going to be Pelican's race to lose here. Obviously struggled a little bit there trying to get through traffic during that last run, and Snyder was able to catch up to him, make the move, get around him there before this final wave of green flag pit stops. And now for the 5 ride, he's just going to have to try to hold them off here. We still got lots of racing left to go. Still about 30 laps left here in this race, finding some NASCAR over overtime and some late race caution flags. Maybe even a little longer than 30 laps left here. But for these drivers, they know that 30 laps is what they have left on the docket. They have to try to keep themselves out in front here and try to keep that other car, either right in touch or back there behind them and try to pull away with it. For Pelican, maybe try to save some tires, roll back here, wait for a little bit of a late race charge to try to jump up and seal that lead and win away from the 5 ride. For Snyder, maybe just trying to play that cat and mouse game, try to keep that gap between himself and the 16 ride where he can try to save some tires as well. There, knowing that the 16 ride may try to make that late race move there on that 5 machine. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how this plays out, as right now still quite a few laps left to go. Still a lot of time on the door here for drivers to make their way up to the front of the field, as we do see Kevin Winker, K-Dub, now headed down pit side. So he will fall back another lap down here as Brandon Deming, last time around, Deming laid down the fastest lap of this race in the 77 truck, finding some late race speed there, a 30:55 and a new quick time here on the evening for Brandon Deming. That's the quickest lap time by about 5/100ths of a second over Alex Pelican. So finding some pretty good speed out of this 77 truck. We'll have to wait and see if he can continue to find that groove and see if he can march his way maybe a little farther forward throughout the field here this evening. As the big battle, though, it's still brewing here at the front of the field. It's Pelican and Snyder, 1 and 2 on the racetrack. Who will come out victorious? Who will come out with the race lead? As we will quickly jump back in and finish off our Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up here this evening. ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for all these drivers. A beautiful crank it up session here today. These drivers put on a heck of a show for us out there on the racetrack. As of right now, it's a battle at the front of the field as Nicholas Snyder holds down the fort here with this race lead about 0.8 of a second between himself and that 16 machine of Alex Pelican. There is the battle between first and fourth, the 5 right and the 16 machine, as both drivers duking it out here in very, very good fashion at the Milwaukee Mile racetrack here this evening for the land of cows and cheese. The Milwaukee 150 sponsored by Muleburger Custom Homes. Huge shout there to Muleburger coming on board here once again for another amazing season of HCK Beagles racing action. As out in front, it's Nicholas Snyder looking to try to pick up a big checkered flag here in our first race of round number 2 in our playoffs here this year. So for the 5 right, looking for a big win, helping his case to try to be a part of that championship 5 and looking to try to pick up this year's championship. Pelican sticking right there with him. Would love to find victory lane himself, but still a very good point stay for that Celsius. Bucky's Rhyme rolling there in position number 2. Nate Maurer, who picked up the win 2 weeks ago as we were off last Tuesday for that number 971 run. He was able to find victory lane in our 3rd race, that cutoff race. Unfortunately, I do believe he fell just a little bit shy of advancing into our round of our 2nd round and into the final 10 drivers of this championship for Nate Maurer. Obviously, a heartbreaker there for him. He was happy to pick up the win, but was heartbroken that he wasn't able to advance and punch his ticket into the next round of these playoffs. So a heartbreaker there for the DSR Electric run, but for Maurer still showing up, still putting on a great race here for us and battling at the front of the field. He's looking to try to keep himself right there in the mix, maybe try to steal a couple wins away from these drivers or show them that if he was able to make it into this round of 10, that he would have been a threat and a possible championship contender here this season. And definitely a heartbreaker there for Maurer, but for the DSR Electric team, they're still trying to keep on battling here, as I do believe Brian Chu still in the hunt here, as he is unfortunately had a tough go here this evening. Chu all the way back here in 16th. He was one of 2 drivers that had to serve a pass-through penalty on lap number 3 here this evening for Brian Chu and for Chris Gilbert. They had to come down pit road, make an unscheduled pass-through penalty here to start this race. And for the 51, he's fallen a lap down. He's been kind of stuck back here. He hasn't really been able to gain too much ground from where he sits, and as of right now, he strolls in the 16th position on the racetrack, and now a couple laps down out there on the speedway. For Chris Gilbert, though, he's been having a fairly solid run. This 45 ride has shown some pretty good speed here this evening, and as of right now, he rolls inside the top 10. So even going a lap down, having a bit of a rough go, having to make that pass-through penalty, he is still a lap down, and as of right now, he's the first car a lap down out there on the racetrack. Actually, no longer the first car a lap down. This is actually the 14 ride of Nathaniel Ostrowski just going a lap down here to our race leader Nicholas Snyder and Alex Pelican, and potentially another driver to go a lap down. Our 8th place driver Bobby Blair not too far in front of our race leaders, but the laps are continuing to get clicked down here for Snyder and Pelican. For Alex Pelican, he's fallen farther and farther away here from Nicholas Snyder. He's back about 1.7 seconds now. That is a huge advantage late in the game here for Snyder, as he's got only 6 laps left in this race, and he's looking to pick up a checkered flag. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get a round of applause here for all these drivers, man. Let's get some high fives up in the chat. Let's see some just big horns up or checkered flags in the chat for all these competitors, man. Absolutely amazing race so far. Down across the line, they will complete lap 145. We have not seen a single caution flag here this evening, and we may not see one. It could happen here late in the race, we don't know, but it is looking that we're going to go clean and green. 150 laps of racing action here at the beautiful Milwaukee Mile, caution free here this evening, man, and that is absolutely amazing pace, absolutely amazing battles, and absolutely amazing performance from each and every one of these drivers. Even if you're a lap or 2 down, to be able to go out there, have no issues, have yourself a good day at the speedway is an absolutely amazing performance. As Richard Bradshaw, what's good, Bradshaw? Bradshaw in the chat says, let's go. Number 18, Grube, and number 20, LePan, as right now Jacob Grube rolls in position number 4 here on the racetrack. He was within striking distance of Nate Maurer, but has now fallen back away from Mauer's. Mauer's actually finding some really good speed in this DSR electric ride. If we had another 20 laps or so in this race, he could have been a threat here to potentially win this race, as he's been tracking down fairly solidly our race leaders out there on the racetrack, been running identical lap times or even better laps than our race leaders, and he's been closing the gap here, and he's about he's about 4 seconds or so behind Alex Pelican here this evening, and about 6 seconds still back behind Nicholas Snyder. So with only a few laps left in this race, I don't think you'll have a chance to catch them, but a solid run there for the DSR electric ride nonetheless. If this was a 175 lap race, man, he may have been right there in the mix to potentially win this race here today, as Bobby Blair trying to keep himself on the lead lap. We do see Jacob Grube back here in 4th, though, as Zach Michael rounding out our top 5 has a big gap between himself and Nick Gardner, as Gardner rolls there in that 6th position, as Brandon Domingue right behind him. Domingue would love to try to jump up here and steal another spot away from that 27 late in this race, as Nathaniel Ostrowiecki, the first car 1 lap down, rolls there in position number 9. Chris Gilbert there rounding out our top 10. Good run here for Chris Gilbert after having to serve that pass-through penalty. Obviously no caution flags, no opportunities to get back onto the lead lap here for him, as we do see that white flag flying. So only one more time around the racetrack here for Nicholas Snyder. Snyder for the final time down the back straightaway here at the Milwaukee Mile. The Snyder Buys Racing ride will send it down into corner number 3, rounds corner number 4 here at the Milwaukee Mile, and he will pick up the win here this evening in the Milwaukee 150, sponsored by Mule Burger Custom Homes. It's Nicholas Snyder who picks up the checkered flag here today at the Milwaukee Mile. Man, what a run and what a drive from Nicholas Snyder, able to come back and be able to hunt down that 16 wide Alex Pelican and pick up the dub here this evening. He'll get ready to celebrate there on the front straightaway. What a drive and what a performance for that number 5 ride, and Pelican a solid drive back there in position number 2, and Nate Maurer coming home with a solid top 3 performance. Jacob Grube, Zach Michael rounding out our top 5, with Nick Gardner, Brandon Domingue, Bobby Blair, Nathaniel Ostrowiecki, and Chris Gilbert. A good comeback there for him, getting as much as he could out of this day to come home in that 10th position here this evening. But it's all Nicholas Snyder. Snyder picks up the dub and gets to celebrate here at the Milwaukee Mile. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here for the Snyder Buys number 5 ride of Nick Snyder here today, getting the job done and parking himself up and into victory lane in that beautiful Chevy Silverado. As each and every one of these drivers will, our top 3 will get ready to jump up into the broadcast booth here. As long as we can pull them in, we will get them up here into the booth for their post-race interview. So we'll have to wait and see if we can pull this number 5 ride in. He's probably not in there as of yet, but we'll wait and see when we get our top 3 up and into the booth here for their post-race interviews. There is Snyder. Let's see if we can pull him up here right now. As Snyder, He's still celebrating, still pumped up, still excited about picking up this checkered flag here this evening. Let's get him up here into the broadcast booth. Hey, Nick, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Need a copy?
Yes, sir.
Nick, man, what a run, what a drive for you here this evening, as you're able to come home in the top spot here after leading the first 23 laps of this race and qualifying in that pole position. Looked like you were going to be that truck to beat, and here you are late in the race, finding your way back to the front of the field and stealing virtually this win away from that 16 ride of Alex Pelican. I don't know if you were just kind of playing with your food there a little bit throughout the middle of this race, but obviously we saw Pelican get around you there in lead lap 24. From that point, he was able to kind of pull away from you and pull away from the rest of the field there and open up a pretty sizable gap. But in that, I want to say, after the second green flag pit stop, he kind of started to fall back there quite a bit. You were reeling him in, reeling him in. He was dealing with a lot of heavy lap traffic, and slowly but surely you were navigating your way back to his rear bumper, able to make that move before your third and final pit stop of the evening to jump out in front. It was a tight battle down through the pit cycle there for that third pit stop, but you were able to just beat him off of pit lane. You stayed door to door there for a couple of laps, and you're able to hold him off to pick up a big win here in the first race of round number 2 of our playoffs. Man, take us back through this one and what's going to go through your mind right now as you're able to pick up this checkered flag.
Yeah, first end of the run, I was just trying to pace myself and pace the field. This track is hard to pass, so if you can just hold up the second guy, and you're golden. This track is hard to pass on old tires because you try to get the gas down and the ass end just comes around. But I kind of gave up a lot of track position to Alex. After that first green flag step around, and I knew how to do something different because I lost the pace there for that stint at least. And then I think just lap traffic played more of a benefactor than me, than him, just because when he caught lap traffic, he already had 5, 10, 15 laps on his tires, and it made it harder to pass. Where I was still on 5 to 8 lap fresher tires than he was, and I was just able to pick off the lap traffic better than what he could. But no, Alex ran a phenomenal race. I thought I gave it away once he was 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds ahead of me. I was like, well, second sucks. But no, I was surprised when I was able to catch him. And coming off the pit road was crucial. The air is just, especially when you get tucked up behind somebody, you just lose the front, and then the rear end just comes around. So it was extremely hard. Even though I called Alex before that green flag pit stop, I couldn't do anything with him. He's running his line, and it was a perfect line. Made me have to do something different. But then again, it just, you couldn't do anything without giving him the bumper.
Yeah, absolutely. Without giving a bumper or just having to wait there patiently, and that was a big thing for a lot of this race, was just being patient, waiting for that driver in front of you to make a little bit of a slip up, a little bit of a mistake, where you were able to get a run and take advantage of them, and then virtually just having them, taking the outside lane and falling back behind you there, and that's exactly how we saw you get that race lead back away from them. And even when you guys were battling door to door after that third and final pit stop, it was just having that preferred inside lane. You were able to edge out in front of them there, then use some of that lap traffic to gain that truck length or so that you needed, and then there you were, just slowly but surely pulling away from them late in this race. But that was a hell of a battle between you two, man. That was a great fight. Obviously some great strategy from Pelican for the first 2 stages there, for the first 2 kind of pit stops, and then all of a sudden you came on strong late in this race and able to find your way back up here into the top spot and into victory lane here at the Milwaukee Mile.
Yes, sir. Alex definitely made it tough on me, no doubt. I was actually expecting him to, kind of pull away and set his pace, and I think he did that very well at the beginning, because I had to run hard every lap after that first stint, and I just kept using up my tires, just trying to catch him. Like I said, I think lap traffic is what kind of played a key factor.
Absolutely. Lap traffic playing a factor in it, and it's able to help you out and find your way up and into victory lane here this evening. Nick, who would you like to thank for such a great run and strong drive out there on the racetrack as you're able to find yourself back up here into victory lane in the HCK Beagles Truck Series?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody at Snyder Beast Racing, Billy, Ian, Julie, Dean, my mom and dad. And then second of all, thank you to all the admins at HCK for putting on a schedule for us to race on Tuesday nights.
Absolutely, brother. Well, Nicholas, heck of a run, heck of a drive here tonight, brother, and hopefully we see you back up here in the broadcast booth next Tuesday, maybe right back up in victory lane in our 5th playoff race of the season.
Yes, sir. Talladega's never been too kind to me, so we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing how it plays out for you and the team, and see if you can pull another one off here, or maybe make a late race charge to steal a win away.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner, Nicholas Snyder. Snyder able to find his way up and into victory lane. What a run and what a drive there for that number 5 machine here this evening, as we'll get ready now to pull in our second place finisher as Alex Pelican waiting patiently down pit side. Let's see if we can get Alex up here into the broadcast booth. Hey Alex, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Taking a copy. Hey, Alex, it's Aaron up here in the booth. Do you get a copy? Alrighty, so it does not look like we got Alex Pelican, unfortunately. Looks like he is not in here, but I'm sure he's going to be a little gutted about that one. Obviously had that big lead, had a great race brewing there for the number 16 machine, and for Pelican, maybe a little sour, maybe just a little bit tired. Man, that was a hard-fought race out there, and coming oh so close to finding his way into victory lane. Definitely a tough one for him as we'll get ready to pull in our third place finisher. I guess now is the number 971, the DSR electric machine. It's Nate Maurer. Maurer coming home here in position number 3. Let's get Maurer up here into the booth for his post-race interview. Hey, Nate, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
I got you, buddy. How you doing?
Not too bad, Nate. Man, great run, great performance out there on the racetrack here tonight, man. Obviously, a lot of hard-fought battling early on, then things kind of got a little bit more opened up with green flag pit stops, but you showed some great speed here all evening, especially there late in the race. You were actually hunting down our race leaders, and we talked about it there before the checkered flag. If this was a 20-lap longer race, maybe 25 laps longer, you could have been there potentially in the mix to try to pick up this win here this evening, man. Take us back through this race and all the battles you had out there to come home in position number 3.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I was faster than Alex or Nick, but that first pit stop, I slid through my box like 3/4 of a truck, backed up. I let Jacob get around me, and Jacob just kind of held me back there. It's so hard to pass. I had to hound him for 10, 15 laps. He's too good. He didn't make a mistake till about that 15th lap, and I finally got around him, and it was all trying to dig out of the hole that I dug the rest of the race. But I mean, if it was 20, 25 laps longer, then boys would have did a little bit different strategy, and probably still would have kept that big lead on me. But great race, no cautions. That's what we love here.
Absolutely no cautions, a long race, 150 laps around this Milwaukee mile here this evening, and obviously, as we said, some great battle in there between you and Jacob Group for multiple laps. You're able to get the upper hand on him here late in this race. He was tight there with you for a little bit in this final stint, and all of a sudden you just pulled farther and farther and farther away from him here in this one, man. Take us kind of through that battle and what was kind of going through your mind there as you and Jacob kind of duked it out there for a long time for that third spot.
Yeah, I was just kind of watching my relatives on Snyder and Pelican just slowly going. I wanted to just send it in underneath Jacob there, but I mean, this is my first season here, but I know Jacob. He's a good. He always races me clean, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that to him. But then he threw a nasty block on at turn 3 on me. I was like, all right, shoes are off now. I'm gonna get right up on your butt and wait for you to make a mistake. And finally started getting a little loose. I think I was handling enough. He was burning up his right rear coming off of turn 2. But I mean, that was the only person I battled all race. So it was a lot of fun. Glad he made a little mistake there, and I got around him.
Absolutely able to steal that third spot away from him, put yourself up here onto the podium as that DSR electric ride was as fast as Xfinity 5G here this evening. As Nate, you park yourself up here on the podium, brother. Who would you like to thank for another solid run and great performance out there on the racetrack?
I gotta say thanks to all the sponsors that keep this thing going, get you paid. Thanks to you up there in the booth for calling a hell of a race. Just sucks. Another good finish here, and not in the playoffs because I got taken out first round. But I wish the season was over right now and starting next season. I can't wait for week 1. But just shout out to all the guys here. I know there's a couple of wrecks, but good job not bringing out a caution, and good fun racing here tonight.
Absolutely good fun. Racing is the key thing right there. Everyone having a good time on their Tuesday nights, enjoying some amazing truck racing here. And I know the fans in the stands were tuning in, watching you guys, and having a good time watching you guys duke it out there lap after lap after lap. And maybe more of the same. I have a sneaky suspicion. I don't think we'll be caution-free next Tuesday as we head to Talladega Super Speedway, but it'll be a lot of fun to see what you and the crew can get cooked up and see if we can find you back up here in the broadcast booth after next Tuesday's race.
I'm pumped. Have a good week, buddy, and have a good night.
Absolutely, you as well. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, Nate Maurer. As Maurer comes home in position number 3 here this evening, man. Some great racing, some great runs out there on the racetrack, and for each and every one of these drivers, man, a hell of a performance out there, man. Caution-free racing action. It was non-stop, 150 laps of battling back and forth out there on the speedway, and that's exactly what we like to see. We love to watch these guys duke it out like that each and every single lap, man. There was some action out there, drivers battling, nose to tail or door to door out there on the speedway. There was always something or some action going on out there. And then obviously the battle there late in the race between Maurer and Groob, and then the battle late in the race between Nicholas Snyder and Alex Pelican, man, to really spice up tonight's events. And hopefully you guys enjoyed each and every single lap of it as much as I did and as much as these drivers did, man, as that was a lot of fun. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor, man. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that follow and subscribe button. Become part of the Peacemaker family here this evening, man, as that was a ton of fun. That was a lot of great racing, man. We can't wait to see you guys back in here tomorrow night. We'll be back in action. We're off the pavement. We're back onto the dirt track as we'll be headed into some action with the Wednesday night street fights, our Dirt Warrior Racing League. New season there for them. Obviously, no points in there. It's open to anybody, so if you guys are watching, you want to join in on some dirt street stock action, make sure you guys look out for tomorrow night's action just at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Look for Jim Revis to post a DWRL race in the hosted sessions there on iRacing in the hosted area for dirt track racing, and jump in, join the fun. We'll be up in the broadcast booth. If I see you in there, I'll let them know and see if we can get you a provisional and into the race no matter what. But it's going to be a lot of fun, man. There's a lot of very, very fast cars. There's a lot of great action out there, so it's going to be a lot of fun to tune in tomorrow night as well. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch you guys back here tomorrow night. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow evening. Peace and love, baby. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen.
Beagles on the track, roaring engines never slack, racing hard, no looking back, on the hunt for victory's knack. Trucks flying through the night, NASCAR dreams within our sight, asphalt heroes in the fight, peacemakers gaining light so bright. Revving it up, feel the pace, speed hounds in the race, feel the thrill, feel the chase, victory is our holy place. Throttle down, no time to waste, in this high octane haste, every corner, every taste, leads us closer to first place. Under lights the engines scream, this is more than just a dream. Through the asphalt like a beam, racers' hearts with fervor gleam. In this game we find our might, push the pedal like the night. With each lap our spirits flight, racing on with all our might. Trucks flying through the night, NASCAR dreams within our sight, asphalt heroes in the fight, peacemakers gaining life so bright. Revving it up, feel the pace, speed hounds in the race, feel the thrill, feel the chase, victory is our holy place. Thrill the place, thrill the place. Throttle down, no time to waste, race. Throttle down, no time to waste. In this high-octane haste, every corner, every taste leads us closer to first place. Throttle down, no time to waste. In this high-octane haste, in this high-octane haste, every corner, every taste leads us closer to first place. Under lights, the engine scream. This is more than just a dream. Through the asphalt like a beam. Racers' hearts will
France for Pets! France for Pets!
In this game we find our might. Push the pedal like the night. With each lap our spirits flight. Racing on with all our might.